welcome back to Mads World. I'm your host Mads, and thank you so much for coming back each week. I'm thrilled to have you here, and if you enjoy the show, please remember to subscribe, rate and review the podcast, and just tell one friend about it. Imagine if all of you told just one person, my listens would double. Through discussing dating apps every week on the podcast, I always wonder what it's like behind the scenes of working at one. So this week, I'm joined by dating app Inner Circle CEO Masha Kodden and their resident dating expert Crystal Cansdale to learn all about it. Masha's role as CEO is to lead Inner Circle to success by setting daring strategies and growing market expansion. Before Inner Circle, she has worked as a tech leader and in online businesses for over 20 years in both B2C and B2B marketing backgrounds. We are also joined by Crystal, Head of Communications for Inner Circle and their resident dating expert. Her many, many years on the dating side of dating apps, combined with her career in online dating, gives her a huge insight into the modern dating world and how singles can navigate it. Inner Circle calls themselves a high-quality dating app. Created from the belief that quality is better than quantity, the app dares singles to date better. 5 million career-driven singles from all walks of life across 66 cities in 29 countries make up the Inner Circle community. The team behind the app screens each profile on safety, effort and mindset, so members only see rich profiles from people they'd actually want to go on a date with. Members are then encouraged to meet through the app at unique Inner Circle events and in real life. Couples get together every 6.6 seconds through Inner Circle, and 116,000 couples have met someone through the app. In this episode, we discuss what it takes to run a dating app and the challenges, what motivated the creation, the best stories that Masha and Crystal have had from users, and what we can expect in dating moving into 2023. You can also expect some of our funniest dating stories as per usual. Hello, Masha and Crystal.
Hi, Maddie.
Oh, lovely to have you guys here. I'm really excited to have you on the podcast because Mads World at its core is a dating podcast, and speaking about dating apps every single week, I've always wanted to speak to someone who works behind the scenes and just know what motivates you guys to want to work for a dating app to start off with.
So what really excites me about being in the dating industry and running the dating app is being really purpose-driven. So we make a difference, I think, in people's lives, changing the course of their lives, getting people into a love relationship, but also seeing marriages and babies happening from what we do every day. It just makes such a difference to people's lives. I think that's just amazing to see. And I think that is one of the most important things, apart from the great international team that we have, and working into tech, I think is also, for me, great, because you can turn, let's say, great ideas into solutions that really provide value for members, right? So, that is, for me, is a really exciting combination.
Yeah, and Crystal, what about you? What motivated you to work for Inner Circle?
Yeah, so I joined Inner Circle 3 years ago when I was terribly single. And when the job came up, all of my friends were like, this couldn't be a more perfect job for you. So what I really like the most is, so my job is, communication. So trying to relate our purpose and what we're trying to do to the real problems that singles are also having. So I can literally turn conversations with my girlfriends about the struggles of dating into campaigns or, real stories that actually make people understand why Inner Circle is a better dating app above the others.
Yeah, and what motivated the creation of Inner Circle? So obviously there are a few dating apps out there, but what sort of sets it apart, and what motivated the, creating it with a point of difference?
It's all started 10 years ago, and it was actually interesting because then Tinder was not even there. And Inner Circle was actually founded by David, who was single at the time. And he was looking into all these dating websites that were basically not that great yet. And he thought, okay, let's really create an app that makes a difference in high quality dating, as we call it. So he felt like spending time or actually wasting time with endless swiping in profiles is not the best thing. So can we do something different? So do dating differently with better profiles and also with a Inner Circle community. And I think that is very interesting to our app, because we actually screen the community. And we do that for 3 reasons, actually. For safety, because we don't want any fakes and scammers, of course, on the app. And I think we are actually quite good at that, to make sure that it's a great environment. That is one. Then the second one is effort. So we really ask singles to make a great profile that tells you a lot about the person, so we can also match you better. And I think that is, an exception, because if you have more information about the people that you see on the app, you can or easily go on a date better. And that actually works very well compared to other sites.
And Crystal, I'd love to know from you, what do you think it takes to run a dating app, and what are some stuff that goes on behind the scenes that people might be surprised to learn who are just users of dating apps and, have no idea? Because I have no idea how much work and it must take to go on behind the scenes,
Yeah, there's lots of stuff that happens behind the scenes, and I think one of the biggest myths, and I was listening to a podcast recently called Sounds Like a Cult. I don't know if you've heard that, but they were talking about dating apps in this way that was like, the people who work there must be just gamifying dating, and it must be to like ruin your lives and keep everyone on dating apps forever and ever. And it's just so totally the opposite to what we're doing here. Like, as Masha said, we are looking to obviously change the course of people's lives, and we're looking for ways to, change the pain points that people have, better the product from like a UX point of view, to thinking about campaigns that are really relatable, to even theming all of the things that we do internally to be about love and dating, to keep us all in that high spirit. From product to our support team of really trying to support our members, and to updating our photo guidelines to be more in line with, what is right and wrong in the world right now. We're always just looking to better the ways in which people date and how we can provide that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it would be great to know as well. So obviously you mentioned there that there's a huge focus on love and, finding connection. And that seems like a really awesome motivation for each day. But what are some of the other best parts of working behind the scenes in a dating app, apart from helping people to find those connections?
What we are trying to do every day is to add value to members. And for that, I think the whole user experience within the app is super important. So you get on the app quite easily. You see let's say the first thing you see is really nice profiles. We make sure we can match you in a good way. And then also we try to get you to an offline date sooner, because that is something, of course, singles want. They don't want to endlessly waste time on dating apps. But we are also focusing on events to get people offline. And I don't think that people know really much that the whole dating app industry is really also a data-led thing, right? Of course, it's about love, but there are so many things that we can see in the app, also in our algorithm. So we know what works really, and from the data and the behavior of people on the app, we can improve things continuously. And that is something that we are focusing a lot on with our product team, with our design team, but also with the data team. Mm-hmm. And with that, we try to optimize things. And the nice thing is also we are not only in Europe, but also in Latin America. And of course, every country is different, right? So we also need to understand what are the local differences and how can we make an app also interesting for people that are in different countries. So that is also something we try to improve every day.
Yeah, I think also on a data point of view, so you've got the algorithm side there, but also we collect so much data that is useful to give back to singles to educate them on how to date better. So some examples to give you is like, we know that if you have one or less photos, your engagement rate goes down crazy amounts. Whereas even if you just have 2 more photos, your engagement goes up 5 times. So giving that back to singles is going to be able to help them date better. Or we recently did something super interesting where we looked at negative language on profiles. So people saying, I'm not looking for this, or I don't want a Tory, or no this, no that, and found that it was like 80% less engagement and likes from having negative language on your profile to actually having positive, like, I'm looking for this. And, if you're this, then I'm into you. So just all like small educational pieces that we can give back to members is really interesting to me.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. And What would you say are some of the most challenging parts of working behind the scenes at a dating app and the hardest parts?
So I think one of the, I won't say hardest part, but most interesting part for me is also understanding that local, let's say, specifics that we need to apply to the app to be successful. So what we did, for instance, in September, we launched in Bogota, in Colombia, and we are now looking into Santiago in Chile. And we do always research with members, but also singles in the city. And we ask them, okay, what is important for you? And the interesting thing, for example, that in Brazil or in Bogota, safety is really important. So people want to be feeling safe in a dating environment on a dating app. So that's why we also screen. And I think that's why we are there making a difference. But in Chile, of course, safety is also important. But there it was more important for members or singles to see like-minded profiles. So I want to date my kind of people, let's say, a certain crowd. So I think with that, we can also make nuances in the app, localize it, and make sure that also our communication and the way we are approaching singles in the market should differ, and make it really specific. And to understand that, I think maybe in the past we understood that less. Now we have also local people on the ground that talk to members there and investigate, okay, what should we really change, or how do you say that? Make localize. And with that, I think that is a challenge, but we are getting better and better in it. And that's also comes back into the growth numbers, because we grow faster than we did in the past. So that is, I think, one of the interesting parts as well. Yeah.
I think it's so interesting speaking about the localization of dating trends and what people, need to succeed in dating in different areas, because we speak about love and dating as though it's this one thing that is universal, because, everyone has the capacity to date or to love or to have sex, whatever it might be. But you forget that there are social nuances that differentiate depending on where you are and your demographic and, different diversity factors. I think that is so easy to forget, and you get wrapped up in your own experience. Whereas, if I was to move to another country and try and date there, what's normal would be so different.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I think also we are at the moment in Amsterdam, so there dating apps are very common. Everybody's on dating apps. It's very normal to say, hey, I'm on a dating app. Whereas, for example, we also looked into Italy, and there we had to educate the market to really explain, okay, it's okay to be on a dating app. It's normal. It's good to get together like that, and you don't have to be ashamed to be on a dating app. And it's interesting, because I thought in the beginning, maybe LATAM, we very much need to understand, or at least explain that dating apps are something that can create great value to you. But there, you don't need to explain it at all, because LATAM is much more, let's say, we see that in Colombia, Brazil, people are more open, easier to connect. So dating apps are maybe even a easier part of dating life, of getting together than in Europe, funny enough.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And what about you, Crystal? What would you say is one of the challenges that you face working for a dating app?
Yeah, I think especially with it being 10 years of it's been our 10-year birthday. Tinder and swiping has also been around for a similar amount of time. And with that comes lots of opportunities to meet new people and to connect with people that you never would have. But we can't deny that it's also cultivated bad behavior in terms of ghosting and catfishing, and trying to eradicate that and make sure that we provide a platform where people don't have to experience that is one thing that we're always looking at. So recently we released a suite of date conscious features where we really encourage people to date more consciously. So now on Inner Circle, if someone sends you a message, you're prompted to actually accept or decline the message. So you're actually not leaving the other person waiting. And then if you want to clean up your inbox and have more, conscious conversations, you're asked on why you're ending the conversation, just so that you can give that other person, the answer, the respect, so that they don't have, 20, conversations that are dead and going nowhere. And I think that there's a job to be done for the whole industry to look at how we can bring a bit more of that real life into dating apps, because it can become very easy to imagine people just behind a screen and not treat them very kindly. So that's why we also look at offline dating and really getting people to our events to make them realize these are real people that you're talking to.
Yeah, that's so interesting because literally yesterday I matched with someone on an app, and as soon as we matched, I checked him again and he was gone. And I was like, he's unmatched me, but I just found it so confusing because I was like, why has he matched me and then gone back to my profile and then unmatched me, and you have no reason? And it's sort of like in real life, at least you could say to the person, if you hit on someone and they walk away, you can say, you get a sense for why. But if otherwise you just, and I get that not everyone's right for each other. And, I've done the same thing, like maybe re-looked at someone and noticed something that I didn't, notice before. But yeah, I think that's a really good feature, is that you can give a reason, even though it feels a bit brutal and rejection is hard. It's probably good for teaching people better habits.
I think many, now we're talking, I'm thinking about it. For me, I think the two most challenging and difficult things are, one, to keep let's say, the community on Inner Circle safe. So make sure that everybody that is on the app is really real and there are no fakes. So you know that you are dating someone that is really a person. Mm-hmm. And it's really surprising to me also in this industry how much fakes and scammers there are. So we are trying to get that, to keep that off the app. And for that we have a screening team. I think that is different than other dating apps. So a part of the screening goes through the algorithm, and that's really smart and gets smarter every time. But also we have a team that is continuously screening profiles by hand. So we look into the profiles. Are you really the same, the person that you say you are, things like that. So that's one. And the second thing, which is most difficult, is behavior. Your example, right? We can really have good profiles on the app, but then we also want people to answer your question or to chat with you or to come back to you, and not just, disappear after you've matched. So I think the safety and the behavior on dating apps, that's the most challenging. And I think to Crystal's point, the whole date conscious suite, that is something that we do to really improve behavior. But that's difficult, right? So you have to also, it's like with children, you also have to educate them a little bit. Like, how does this really work? And what is good behavior to get the right experience also for people that mean well, right? So to get that combination, I think that's the most challenging, and do that well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's also about setting ourselves apart from the other dating apps as well. So, I think some Tinder openly kind of call for this kind of environment with their campaigns of like single not sorry and stuff, and it's for a certain type of person who's looking for a certain type of thing, but we want to say, we're for quality dating and people who are actually taking dating seriously. So if you come here and you download Inner Circle, we want people to kind of think more or like ask of more from the dating app they're using and the people that they're also dating. So hopefully we're kind of creating this community where we're saying this isn't the place where you ghost.
And this leads me into the next segment of the podcast, which is sort of, I wanted more of a story time section with you guys, because I'm sure through working at a dating app, you've got some of the best stories of users. And first up, I wanted to know what are your favorite stories that you've had from users, whether that be ending in a marriage, ending in kids, or, a funny story you've heard. I'd love to hear them.
I actually have two of my closest friends that got together with their loved ones on Inner Circle recently.
Oh my God! That's
that's
awesome.
Really exciting. So they are, let's say, around 40. They had been in a relationship, both of them. It's Mieke and Thijs. Mieke is, of course, female. Thijs is male. They had 15 years of experience in their marriage. They got divorced, both of them. So that was a sad year, a year ago. And then I, when I started working at Inner Circle, I said, well, you have to try this. And they both said, dating apps are not for me. Of course, it won't work. I want to meet someone in a bar or through friends. And of course, they experienced quite fast that their Inner Circle was not big enough to really meet other people. So they joined Inner Circle. And what the great thing is then to hear that they felt like, oh, wait a minute. There are actually very nice and interesting people on this app. And it works for me, right? So that is, I think, for me, it's great. They are now both very happy with the person that they found on Inner Circle. So this, for me, really proves they are so close. And I hear, of course, their love stories and happy stories every weekend, every week. So yeah, for me that proves that we really make a difference. That's nice. Yeah,
that's incredible. It's so cool that it was two of your friends and you you were like the Cupid behind the scenes, getting them to start on the app to begin with.
Me. Yeah, on that side. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And what about you, Crystal? What's your favorite story you've heard?
Yeah, I would say it's less about the one favourite story, but my favourite thing is going to parties or events and telling people where you work, and they're like, no way, that's where I met my boyfriend, or that's where I met my girlfriend. So recently when I moved to Amsterdam, I'm living in like a townhouse, and there's, you know, a few flats. And I met one of the girls who lives downstairs, and we're talking about what we do. I was like, I work for InnerCircle, and she's like, oh, I met my ex-boyfriend there. And she was like, you know, it didn't work out, but we were together for 5 years, so it was a good relationship. And then I was recently at a party where someone also told me that. So it's just like those little anecdotal things of just like moving around and hearing about different people, meeting people.
It's so cool. Yeah, it really speaks to the to what you were saying before about just getting to nurture connections between people and be a part of that. It's really special.
Yeah. So what I'm really proud of, if I speak to people about what I'm doing and I'm mentioning, okay, InnerCircle, then if they quite often give back, oh, this is really different. This is a good dating app. You really have better profiles. This is really a nice crowd of people. And that really makes me proud because, yeah, that is, of course, what we want. And if you get that back from singles you meet, yeah, that's really nice to hear.
That's amazing. And Crystal, I want to know from you personally, what is your funniest date story?
My personal dating story. I once went on a few dates with a guy, and, you know, if he's out there, he'll know who he is. And on our first date, he wanted to go to a notorious after spot in Hackney when I was living in London and do karaoke on a Wednesday night, which at first was very, very cute, and he sung, and I got up and danced with him a little bit until the next Wednesday when we went on another date. He wanted to go back to the bar and also sang the same song on karaoke. And it happened one more time following. And he was like, oh, it happened 3 times. We went to the Dolphin in Hackney 3 times while he sang the same song on karaoke and looked as proud of himself as the first time.
Oh my God, I actually live around the corner from the Dolphin, and that is insane behavior.
Well, let me know if you end up dating the guy who loves to sing on karaoke there.
Oh my God, that is so jokes. And the fact that he took you back, not one more time, but 2 more. Do you reckon he takes all of his dates there and just does that same show every time?
I think so. He has no shame. He thinks he's showing you a wild night out.
That's so fun. And on a Wednesday night as well. It's not even a weekend. And what about you, Masha? Did you have a funny date story you can share with us?
Well, actually, I've been in a relationship for some time, so I'm really happy with that.
Yeah.
So, of course, we go on dates, but I don't have actually a funny dating story because I'm out of that for some time, I must say. I do see that my daughter is dating. And that is interesting.
Oh, yeah?
Sometimes when she goes into a club in Amsterdam and tells me about how does this work. But she is also experiencing dating apps. And it's interesting for the younger generation. It's so normal to start on dating apps, right? Where when you are a bit older, then of course you think, oh, I will meet people face to face. But I think also with the younger generation, dating apps will even be more part of their life than it was, I think, the last 10 years. So, the population or the group of people that are going to use dating apps and has value from them, I think will only increase. So that's also interesting about this industry, right? About dating apps, that there is so much to gain and to change also in the whole user experience for younger generations.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you as well. Based on the data and your experience working at a dating app and working in InnerCircle, what do you think the upcoming trends are going to be for 2023 and beyond?
Well, I think that's a very good question. So what we see is we think that quality over quantity becomes more important than it has ever been, because dating apps get more in a part of your day-to-day life. Of course, more and more people come onto the app. And we feel that it's really about quality instead of quantity. So it should be the right crowd that you find on the app. It should be good profiles, great matching, and then have better dates. So quality over quantity, we think, is already today important, but will increase over time. I think that is something we already discussed. The safety that also comes with authenticity, I think. Be the real you, use the right pictures. I think that is something that we will definitely also educate our target audience with. And the focus on safety needs to be there, and I think we will hold on to it, making sure that we don't have any scammers, fakes, and everything on the app. To make sure that you are just having a good time, enjoying it, without having to worry about these side effects of dating, right? Yeah.
And what do you think, Crystal, being the resident dating expert, where do you see things going next year and beyond?
Yeah, so two of the trends that I think are going to come up more from what we're going to kind of see on the app from singles and what we're going to see singles behavior changing is one, Masha kind of mentioned it already, but it's authenticity, but more from the consumer side. So with the likes of Be Real becoming very popular and kind of photo dumps on Instagram instead of lots of filters, and TikTok becoming more trending. I think we're going to see that through the photos that people upload and the way that they want to interact with people and what they want to see from people as well. So lots more photos in the moment that are still good quality, but really showing like you in your authentic place, being your authentic self. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And then also, we've coined it the cost of loving, but obviously we're living in a cost of living crisis. So I think what we're going to see is people looking for cheaper dates and free ways to actually go on dates and interact with people. And it's kind of what we saw a bit during COVID as well, is that people will look to date cheaper, but in times of adversity, people also look for a lot of connection. So we'll see people investing in their love lives a little bit more, but just looking for ways to do that a bit cheaper.
So my final question for you guys is, what has the overall experience of working at Inner Circle taught you about people in general? And what are you going to take away from it once you move on, if you move on?
So no intention to move on yet. I'm really enjoying Inner Circle, and I think we have a lot of opportunities still. But I think what I learned from being in the dating industry, I think, first of all, how much technology can add to your life. I mean, it's a technology app, right? But it's actually tech meets real life. So I think the great added value of technology, of apps, I think not only dating apps, but in general, apps really make your life easier and add value. So the whole technology, that is something I even embraced more than I did before. And the other part is a bit of a negative part, I would say, because I never imagined that there could be so many, let's say, bad behavior on apps, and also the whole fakes and scammers. I think we are in a good place, actually, with our app and with our community. But of course, I talk to others in the industry as well, and I see how much trouble other dating apps have with really providing a safe environment. A lot of people, a lot of investment goes into that. And I think we, of course, all know the Tinder swindler case, but there are many more, unfortunately. And I'm still, of course, we also see cases that we keep out of our app. But of course, we see the screening team reports things. And sometimes, the behavior for me is really interesting on the negative side, I would say. So that is something I learned. So that gives us more and more, let's say, the drive to keep the safety part at a very good level. And that is, I'm really proud of that we are doing that with the screening team and making sure that we are able to do that. But it was an interesting learning during the last few years. Yes.
And what about you, Crystal? I mean, being a dating expert, are you single at the moment? Are you dating? Can you take these experiences and use them in your real life?
I'm no longer single, actually.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you. But yeah, I was single while working at inner circle, and also a lot of my girlfriends are still single as well, so I definitely
Yeah,
still in the girls chat drop some data or some insights and stuff that's going to help them out. But yeah, I think the biggest learning for me working here, and one that I think that, you know, we need to use a lot, we need to keep in mind a lot, and also I could take to anything else that I would do in the future personally and work-wise, is the vulnerability that goes into dating and putting yourself out there, and us really being able to kind of hold that vulnerability in all the work that we do as well, and keep that in mind so that we can stay relatable to our members is really important. But I think that goes for anything in life, right? Anyone who's listened to Brené Brown on vulnerability will understand that.
Yes.
Yeah. And just like understanding that, people are putting themselves out there and just being kind to people when, you know, they are in their most vulnerable state, and having empathy for, you know, I'm always learning as well. I mean, I've been seeing a guy recently, and just having to let someone down, it's always worse for them, but you still just feel so bad. And, you know, you need to remember, like, everyone's a human. We're all in it together. We're all being vulnerable together, but it's just having that mindfulness to be kind and behave correctly, which is what you were speaking about, Masha, because it's all a learning process, whether it's in real life or whether it's on dating apps. But we just have to... We're just all trying our best.
As long as you are open and honest and just give back, hey, this is not the right match for me, I'm moving on. So don't ghost, just say what you don't want, because that's fine. If you just are clear, then I think it's really good. So the good behavior, being the real you, but also, just honesty. That is, I would say, a given. But we still need to educate singles, and so that is something I would hope for, that people are open, honest, just tell people what you want, what you're looking for, and if you don't like it, just move on, but say you are moving on and don't leave it open, because that, if you talk about vulnerability, that is something that people struggle with, and we need to get that out of the way, right?
Yeah, no, that's such good advice. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for jumping on the podcast and having a chat. I feel like I've got a good understanding of how it all goes on behind the scenes now. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. Very nice to talk to you, and thanks.
I hope you enjoyed my chat with Masha and Crystal. Please let me know on my Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, wherever, if you have any stories or thoughts of your own to share. Love and elbow taps. Peace.